At first glance, the Sennheiser Momentum 4s are simply superior to both the Bose QC45s and Bose NC 700s. The Sennheiser Momentum 4s have almost 3 times the battery life, they have a better performing ANC, and the Momentum 4s sound much better than either of Bose's headphones. However, the Momentum 4s just have some major glaring quirks to them that are just too hard to ignore. So today we're going to compare the Sennheiser Momentum 4s to both the Bose NC 700s and the Bose QC45s. And personally, I am rather excited to compare these headphones to the Bose QC45s because I feel the Bose QC45s have aged very well. Regarding pricing, the Bose NC 700s are the most expensive headphones here, retailing for $380. But they're also the oldest headphones here. These things came out in the summer of 2019. Then there are the recently released Momentum 4s that retail for $350. And finally, there are the Bose QC45s, which are 1 year old now, and they retail for $330, but they like to go on sale for $280. Now, I am gonna have to confess, the Bose QC45s are currently my favorite ANC headphones to recommend, especially if you're a traveler. Nonetheless, if you want to pick any of these headphones up, they'll be linked down below, or you can press on the YouTube shopping button. But personally, I would avoid picking up the NC 700 these days. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch shelf down below. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know I can be very particular. So I'll only set my name on something that I'm really proud of. Now first, let's talk about these cases. Now all of these headphones come included with a decent hardshell cases, which is new for the Momentum 4s. However, the Momentum 4's case is noticeably larger than these other two headphones. Now the NC700's case has a similar footprint as the Momentum 4's case, but it is noticeably thinner. And then there's the Bose QC45's case, which is just the smallest here. So if you're someone that's looking for a pair of headphones to constantly travel with, then personally I would recommend the QC45s because of their small case, among a few other reasons. But something that I do have to point out about the Momentum 4s is that when you remove them from their case, they're going to automatically power on. Now, in theory, this sounds really cool, but I did notice that if you have this case either upright or upside down while your headphones are inside, then your headphones can power on and they can get connected to your phone. So until either Sennheiser fixes this or allows you to turn this smart feature off, you're going to have to be mindful about how you store these headphones while they're in their case. But now let's talk about the headphones themselves. Now both the Momentum 4s and QC45s have a mostly plastic body. However, the Momentum 4s have a little bit of fabric on the top of their headband and they have padded silicone underneath their headband. But then there are the NC 700s. Now these things also have padded silicone underneath their headband, but the padding here is much softer and cooler to the touch. Plus there's some exposed silicone on top of the headband, and the headband itself is exposed stainless steel, and we've got plastic ear cups. But something that really separates both of Bose's headphones from the Momentum 4s is their leatherette. The leatherette on both the NC 700s and QC45s is very soft and it's very supple. Now this leatherette doesn't feel as good as some real leather ear pads out there, but it still feels really good. Whereas with the Momentum 4's ear pads, this leatherette feels very synthetic, very plasticky. It does soften up after a while, but it just doesn't feel anywhere near as good as the leatherette on either of Bose's headphones. Overall, I do feel that the Bose NC 700s have the best build quality here, whereas both the Momentum 4s and QC45s are on par with one another. But when it comes to fit, both of Bose's headphones are easily way more comfortable than the Momentum 4s, and this can easily be a deciding factor for some people, because it is for me. Now, I will say that all of these headphones are big head approved, because I can wear the Momentum 4s for extended periods of time, but the Momentum 4s have a much firmer fit to them, whereas the QC45s have a very loose fit. So if you have a big head and if you like to wear hats, then these are definitely for you. And finally, there are the NC 700s, which have a little more clamping force than the QC45s, but they fit much looser than the Momentum 4s. But then there's the padding underneath these headbands. Like I mentioned earlier, the Momentum 4s have padded silicone underneath their headband, but it's not the softest, and I have found that after 40 minutes or so, it does create a pressure point. Whereas with the NC700s, these things don't create any kind of pressure point because they have a lot of padding and they do an impressive job of conforming to the shape of your head. Now, the QC45s don't have all of this silicone padding underneath their headband, but their headband also doesn't create a pressure point because it has a good amount of padding and surface area. But then there's the weight of these headphones. Now, the Momentum 4s weigh in at 295 grams. Now, these headphones aren't above average like their predecessors, and they certainly aren't in AirPod Max territory, which weigh in at 384 grams. But the Momentum 4s are noticeably heavier than the NC700s, which weigh in at 264 grams, and the Bose QC45s, which weigh in at 234 grams. So with the QC45s, these are a pair of headphones that you can easily forget that you're wearing, whether you're sitting down or walking around. The NC700s are also fairly easy to forget that you're wearing, but then there are the Momentum 4s, which are a pair of headphones that you are going to notice shifting around when you're walking around with them on. But finally, there are the ear pads on these headphones. Now, the ear pads on the Momentum 4s are going to have no problem accommodating most average size ears. However, both of Bose's headphones have much more spacious ear pads, which are going to be able to much better accommodate larger ears or ears that stick out a lot. But also, Bose's ear pads have less surface area coming in contact with your skin. So these ear pads stay a little cooler for a little longer. Whereas with the Momentum 4's ear pads, they do heat up a little faster. So overall, one of the main reasons why I simply love the Bose QC45s is because they're super comfortable. They have a loose fit, they're lightweight, they don't create any pressure points, their ear pads are super spacious, and their ear pads stay cooler for longer. Now, the NC700s are also comfortable, but just not as comfortable as the QC45s. And finally, there are the Momentum 4s. Now, don't get me wrong, I can wear these headphones for long stretches of time, but I'm never happy about it. But now let's talk about tech specs. When it comes to battery life, this is an area where the Momentum 4s simply crush both of Bose's headphones. Now, the Momentum 4s have an advertised battery life of 60 hours with their active noise cancellation turned on. Whereas the Bose NC700s have an advertised battery life of 20 hours, and the Bose QC45s have an advertised battery life of 24 hours. A little better, but it could be better. However, with the NC700s, if you want, you can always extend their battery life by using them with their active noise cancellation completely turned off. Now, you're not going to hit that 60-hour mark, but at least it is something. Because with these other two headphones, you have to use them with either their active noise cancellation turned on or their ambient mode turned on. And when it comes to fast charging, this is something that Bose is really just struggling with. Now, with the NC700s, if you were to plug them in for 15 minutes from a dead battery, they're going to get you 2 hours of playback time. Now, the QC45s does a little better because they're going to get you 3 hours of playback time from that same 15-minute charge. But then there's the Momentum 4s. With these, if you were to plug them in for 5 minutes from a dead battery, they're going to get you 4 hours of playback time. So overall, Bose really just needs to improve their overall battery life performance. But now let's talk about Bluetooth connectivity. And admittedly, this is somewhat of an issue for the Momentum 4s. Now, with all of these headphones, they can be connected to 2 devices at the same time, which is good if you're a power user. And Bluetooth connectivity is not an issue for either of Bose's headphones. Whereas with the Momentum 4s, I have noticed that on a semi-regular basis, these headphones won't always automatically connect to my phone every time that they power up. Sometimes I do have to go into my Bluetooth menu and manually establish a connection with these headphones. Now, this doesn't happen all of the time, but it does happen enough to the point where I have to point this out. And this is just something that you shouldn't have to deal with these headphones, and this was never an issue with any of Sennheiser's older headphones. And as of their September 2022 firmware upgrade, this is still somewhat of an issue. Now, when it comes to overall performance, performance, all of these headphones have zero latency across the board when watching movies or videos on your phone, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android device. But when it comes to audio codecs, both of Bose's headphones only have support for SBC and AAC, which is very standard, and AAC is going to work perfectly fine whether you're an iPhone or an Android user. However, the Momentum 4s do have support for higher quality audio codecs. Now, the Momentum 4s have support for SBC and AAC, but they also have support for aptX and aptX Adaptive. However, if you do want to take advantage of aptX, you do have to be an Android user. But if you want to, you can always just use a wired connection with any of these headphones because all of these headphones still have an audio jack. Just keep in mind that all of these headphones are using 2.5mm audio jack. And also, with the Momentum 4s, if you want, you can use their USB-C port as a wired connection as well, which is something that neither of these other two Bose headphones can do. But the important thing is that all these headphones come included with proper audio cables. But now let's talk about actually listening to music with these headphones. Now, both of Bose's headphones are mainly geared towards someone who likes say more vocals or neutral EQ, whereas the Momentum 4s are going to have an easier time pleasing more people, whether they like a neutral EQ or if they like a more bass-heavy EQ. But also, the Momentum 4s simply have better instrument separation, making them sound more open. Now, with both of Bose's headphones, they have a decent instrument separation, but the mids on the Momentum 4s are more pronounced and they have better separation, making the instrumentals on the Momentum 4s much more dynamic. Whereas, Bose's headphones can sound a little narrow by comparison because the instrumentals aren't as defined, and they do put a little bit more emphasis on the treble. But then, there's the bass on these headphones. The bass on Bose's headphones don't have all that much physicality to them. You can definitely hear it, but you don't feel it. Now, with both of Bose's headphones, you can go in and raise their bass. But if you raise their bass too much, these headphones do start to sound shallow. And even if you were to raise them all the way to 10, they're not going to actually rattle your head. Whereas with the Momentum 4s, if you want, you can raise their bass and they're going to rattle your head a decent amount, all while without sounding super shallow. And the bass on the Momentum 4s not only kicks significantly more than Bose's headphones, it also resonates much cleaner. So plainly said, Bose's headphones are mostly geared towards people who like a more neutral or vocals-focused EQ. If you want to physically feel your bass, then you shouldn't get these because you'll start to complain and say that they sound flat. Whereas with the Momentum 4s, if you want to feel your bass, then they can deliver. But if you're someone that wants a more neutral EQ, then they can also deliver thanks to their instrument separation and well-defined mids. Now, when it comes to the MIDI controls on these headphones, both the Momentum 4s and NC700s have touchpads. And personally, the touchpad on the Momentum 4s isn't my favorite because it's a little too sensitive for my taste. Whereas with the NC700, its touchpad isn't as overly sensitive, but it's so tiny. Personally, I kind of prefer the physical buttons on the QC45s here. However, something that the Momentum 4s have that neither of Bose's headphones do are wear sensors. So whenever you take these headphones off, they'll automatically pause your music, and when you put them back on, they'll start playing music again. Now, the wear sensors on the Momentum 4s work very well when they decide to work, because half of the time it's like these headphones forget that I have their wear sensors turned on, so they just simply won't do anything. Now, personally, I just turn off the wear sensors on all of my headphones, so this doesn't really matter to me. But I do want to point this out just in case wear sensors are very important to you. And again, I do hope that Sennheiser manages to fix this issue through a future firmware update, because this was never an issue with any of Sennheiser's older headphones. But now, let's talk about the active noise cancellation on these headphones. Now, the ANC on the Momentum 4s is very good. It even rivals the ANC on the Sony 1000 XM5s, which is super impressive. However, the QC45s also have very impressive active noise cancellation. And this is another reason why I like traveling with them so much. But so that you can see for yourself, we're going to jump into an ANC test. So surprisingly, the Bose NC700s have the worst performing ANC here, because these are supposed to be Bose's top tier ANC headphones. And initially, they used to block out more noise than the QC45s. But thanks to a firmware update in early 2022, the QC45s got a notable ANC performance bump. Now, the Momentum 4s block out a little more low frequency sounds than the QC45s, because they did a slightly better job of blocking out road noise. However, the QC45s do a slightly better job of blocking out random higher frequency sounds like chatter. Overall, both of these headphones are top tier when it comes to blocking out noise because they block out a lot of noise without a whole lot of cabin pressure. But what really separates these headphones are their ambient modes. Now, with the Momentum 4s, you can adjust how much noise these headphones let in, and you can also adjust how much noise the NC700s let in. However, with the QC45s, you're stuck with only one option. Now, I think the QC45s let in a decent amount of noise, but more importantly, both of Bose's headphones do a much better job of letting in people's voices, so it's much easier to understand people when they talk to you. Whereas with the Momentum 4s, these prioritize noise pollution, so people's voices can sound a little muffled. Now, the ambient mode on the Momentum 4s gets the job done, but it's not my favorite. However, something that I don't like about the ambient mode on the Momentum 4s is that their microphone array picks up a lot of wind noise, whereas the microphone array on both of Bose's headphones do a better job of rejecting that wind noise. However, something that the Momentum 4s do have going for them is that they have an active ambient mode, meaning that when they detect a sudden loud noise, they'll automatically turn off their ambient mode like this. Major headphone warning if you're using them. And when that loud noise stops, they'll turn their ambient mode back on. Whereas with both of Bose's headphones, they'll just let in everything, like this. Again, major headphone warning. So yeah, if there's a police siren rolling by, then your ears could get blasted. Now, there are a few other earbuds and headphones out there that have an active ambient mode, like the Momentum 4s. But now that Apple is showcasing this feature on the AirPods Pro 2, I expect active ambient modes to become more popular and better soon. However, something that the QC45s are sorely missing is a conversation mode, which is found on these other two headphones, where you can quickly lower the volume of your music and pump in all of the ambient sound around you, so that you can quickly talk to someone without having to remove your headphones, like this. And then the headphones will go back to normal. So yeah, these conversation modes are very useful, especially if you plan on constantly traveling with your headphones, and I really wish the QC45s had this. But finally, here's the microphone test. Now, the microphone on the Bose QC45s is decent, but it is the worst performing microphone here. It does sound a little shallow. Whereas the NC700s have better clarity to them. But then there are the Momentum 4s, which I feel have decent clarity to them as well, but these do sound a little bit more robotic. However, when it comes to blocking out noise pollution, I feel the Momentum 4s do a slightly better job of blocking out this road noise. Because with the NC700s, these are trying to block out this road noise, but they are letting in a little bit more noise pollution, and they are interfering with my voice as well. And then there are the Bose QC45s, which are just letting in even more road noise. And the same thing can be said when it comes to blocking out chatter. The Bose QC45s are letting in a decent amount of chatter. And with the NC700s, even though this microphone is trying to block out this chatter, there is still some interference going on with my voice. Whereas with the Momentum 4s, I feel that these are doing a better job of blocking out this chatter and they aren't interfering with my voice as much. So overall, I do feel that the Sennheiser Momentum 4s have the best performing microphone here because they do the best job here of dealing with noise pollution. But with all that being said, on paper, the Sennheiser Momentum 4s are an amazing pair of ANC headphones, and they should be the clear winners here. They have the better battery life here, they block out a ton of noise with very little cabin pressure, and they sound way better than either of Bose's headphones. But the overall user experience isn't the greatest. For starters, as of September 2022, Bluetooth connectivity on the Momentum 4s isn't flawless as it should be. The ambient mode on the Momentum 4s does prioritize noise pollution over people's voices, and if you have these headphones upside down in their case, then they can get powered on and they can get connected to your phone. Now, I hope Sennheiser will fix these issues through a firmware update, but even if these software issues are fixed, personally, I don't find the Momentum 4s to be the most comfortable headphones out there, and their large case wouldn't be my top pick for traveling. But hey, if you're willing to put up with these possible shortcomings, then the Momentum 4s might be for you. Personally, I simply love the Bose QC45s because they're super comfortable to wear for multiple hours on end. They block out a ton of noise without a whole lot of cabin pressure, and their smaller carrying case makes them great for traveling. You just have to learn to enjoy their more neutral and less physical sound signature. But then there are the Bose NC 700s. Personally, I wouldn't go for these headphones today. They don't block out as much noise as the QC45s, and they have slightly less battery life. The only thing that these things have over the QC45 is their conversation mode and adjustable ambient mode. However, I am really looking forward to the successors of the Bose NC 700s. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something if I'm really proud of it.